Let's cover hallucinations. Can you quickly explain what they are and why they are a problem?
Sure. So basically, large language models are trained to provide answers that are as helpful as possible. So now, which kind of responses are the most helpful? Well, definitely not the ones where the model says, I don't know, I have no clue. So this leads to this really interesting behavior that the models try to create answers that sound as convincing as possible, even if they are based on facts that are completely made up and the model has never seen during the training. So this is, of course, a really big problem and trust issue. This is why one way people came up with to combat these hallucinations is RAG, which is Retrieval Augmented Generation. This means that you first have a step of knowledge retrieval where you fetch the relevant sources and then try to make the model generate an answer solely based on the provided sources. However, when you try this without any additional measures, you will see that you'll still, from time to time, get answers that are completely made up but sound really convincing.
This means it's very challenging to detect these hallucinations. So how can I then trust any of these AI-generated answers?
That's a great question. So basically, there's three great measures to improve trust in these systems. So the first one is quite simple. We can include references in the answers to the sources that we used to generate the answer. This means, of course, if you want to verify the answer or are like, okay, this sounds good, but I really need to make sure that this is correct, then you can check out the original source that was provided to generate this answer and see for yourself if this is actually correct. However, this is, of course, very tedious, and we really want to make sure users can trust the answers even when they don't manually verify them. So for these reasons, we at AwesomeQA also put a lot of effort into providing only the most relevant information to the model. Because providing irrelevant information that is not helpful to answer the user's question really makes the probability of hallucinations significantly higher, because the model has much less to work with and it's just a bunch of noise. So this, together with prompt tuning to make sure that the model really tries to only output information that is based in the provided sources, is definitely another significant step to reduce the probability of hallucinations. The third and technically also really interesting measure is hallucination detection. There's more and more research now coming out that train models to detect whether a generated answer that was based on different sources is actually a hallucination or not. So they have kind of three different levels, where one is, okay, this is actually based on the source and the information is exactly kind of the same. Then there's another level of, okay, this might be true, but it's actually not in the source. And they can also detect if the information outputted by the large language model is simply contradictory to the provided sources. So now these hallucination detection models were originally created for model evaluation, but are now getting better and better to be able to also be used and useful for on-the-fly detection whether an answer is actually something you want to provide the user or not.